Alright class, this lesson is going to be a combination of linear representations for graphs, tables, and equations. I'm going to go over the graphs and the equations at the end because that's going to be a review. But the tables, we're going to talk about the y-intercept. Go ahead and set up your notebook. You're going to set it up as y-intercept from a table. Pause the video to set up your notebook. Alright, if you unpause, you should be right here. Go ahead and set up your table. You're going to make sure you put all the x values as my cursor is showing. -3, 0, 3, -1 for the y, 5, and 11. Pause the video and go ahead and complete writing everything in your notes as you see on the screen. What I want you to notice right here is on the x values, it is increasing by a constant rate of 3. That means from -3 to 0, you increase by 3. And from 0 to 3, you increase by 3. That is my x value. For my y value, I'm increasing by 1. From -1, I'm going to 5, and that's 6. From 5 to 11, that's 6. When we write our slope, I want you to remember we write it as y over x. So my y values are going to go on top. I have 6 over 3. But we're going to reduce our slope by dividing, and we're going to get 2. For the y-intercept, we're going to look on the table wherever x equals 0. For this case right here, I see x is 0 and y is 5. Therefore, I will write my y-intercept below, as my cursor shows, as the y-intercept equals 5. If you unpause, you're ready to move on. I'm going to show you a couple slides, and I want you to get the value in your head and see if you're able to identify the y-intercept. For this table showed right now, look to see where x equals 0 and the y value is going to be your y-intercept. Okay, go ahead and check. So your y-intercept is -4. Okay, that's right here where x equals 0. The y-intercept is -4. For this one, we're going to look here. I see where x is 0. I'm going to look at the y value here, and I'm going to see that it's 3. But what if the table does not give you a x value of 0? Go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and write what is presented on the slide. Alright, so go ahead and have this table down, and the rule is right on top. To find the y-intercept, you must use slope or unit rate to count backwards to find the x value for 0. I'm going to show you how to do that exactly. Make sure you have this in your notes. Go ahead and pause the video because I'm going to switch over to me working it out. So one more time, to find the y-intercept, you must use slope or unit rate and count backwards to find the x value for 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my m, which we know is my slope. And I'm going to look for my y-intercept, which I know is my b, which is going to be where the line intersects on the y-axis. First thing I'm going to do, just like my note said, I'm going to look for my slope. I'm going to look to see how much my table is increasing or decreasing on the x-axis, and I'm also going to do this for the y. So here's an example. On my x, it's -1 to 1. Y moved 2 places positive because I'm going from a negative number to a positive. The next one, I'm going to go from 1 to 3. I'm also increasing the values by 2. The next one, I'm going to look at y now. I'm going to look to see if it's increasing or decreasing. It's going from large negative numbers to a smaller negative to a positive. So I know it's increasing. From 12 to negative 4, I get 8. From negative 4 to 4, I get 8. So as a reminder, we go y over x for rise over run. My y value here is increasing by 8, so I'm going to put that there. And my x value here is increasing by 2. But I'm not going to call that my m because I'm going to reduce this even to unit rate so I can see the simplest form. I'm going to divide by the denominator. If you look in your notes, it shows you divide by the denominator from the top to the bottom. I'm going to get 4 over 1. So my slope is 4 over 1, and my rate is 8 over 2. To find the y-intercept, I need to find where 0 will be in the x values. So I'm looking here, and I'm looking where would 0 fit. Think about it. Where will 0 fit? From negative 1 to 1, 0 goes right in the middle. Now, from negative 1 to 1, I only move one place. So I'm going to use my unit rate here. For the x values, anytime it goes up by 1, right here, negative 1, 0, 1, it could be 2, and then 3. That means the y is going to increase by 4. So from negative 12 to here, if I increase by 4, I'm going to get negative 8. I'm going to box this. That is going to be my y-intercept. Where x is 0, my y-intercept is negative 8. Go ahead and pause the video, and what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and work on these. Some of these are going to have 0 already there, and some are not. If you need to, rewind the video and go back to my example to help you for 3 and 4, and look at your notes for 1 and 2. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and go back. Now we're going to review graphs. If you need to pause to finish your table, make sure you pause right now. Don't let the video play because you're going to use this for the second part of your worksheet. All right. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my m and I'm going to find my b. My m is my slope. How much am I rising? And how much am I going over? Am I running? What I want you to do right now, if you don't have your notes open, pause the video and open your notes for graphing the equation. We're going to work backwards, but it's the same concept. All right, so rise, remember I'm going to watch if I'm going up, it's positive. If I'm going down, it's negative. You have your notes. I'm going to use these 2 points. I go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went up 4, which is positive, and I go to the right, 1, 2, 3. I went to the right, 3. 4 over 3 is my slope. I rose 3, I went to the right, 4. For the next one, my b, I'm going to look for where the line crosses on the y-axis. So from here is my y-intercept. It's intersecting the y-axis. I'm going to count to see the location. From 0, I go 1, 2. The point of my y-intercept is positive 2. That's how you find the slope and y-intercept from a graph. You are going to be asked to find it from a table, from a graph, and from an equation to compare. We're going to look at equations. If you can, pause, open your notes to writing it. Equation from a word problem, and you have a diagram that looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. My m is my slope, and my b is my y-intercept. You are just going to look at your equation and see what values represents these two. X is not included. Notice my slope is just m. Please do not put x as your slope because it is not a part of your slope. So I'm going to look at this equation here, and I see 3 in the spot where m would be. So my m is 3, and my b, my y-intercept, is 10. Go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to find your m for this one and your b for this one. Check your answer with mine. If you didn't notice in the video, that's a negative 1/2. That's in the place of my m. That is my slope. So I'm going to probably write negative 1/2. No x. You see there's no x there. The next one is my b. I'm going to box this so you can see the negative next to the 5. Negative 5. That is my y-intercept. If I was looking at all 3 of these representations, I can see that the slope is 4. The slope is 4 over 3 here. And then I have a slope of 3 and negative 1/2. To compare this, I would say who has the largest slope would be the table because it has a slope of 4. If I was comparing the y-intercepts, I would look at it. I have negative 8, positive 2, negative 5, and positive 10. To look for the greater, all I'm doing is to see which one is larger. In this case, this y-intercept is negative 10. So it's the largest because I have negative numbers and a positive 2. On your worksheet, you are going to do exactly what was shown and look at your notes. You're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept for the graph and the equations. On this side is where you're doing it for all 3 representations, an equation, a graph, and a table. Make sure you put for each one what the m and b is. Don't forget m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. Be sure to explain who has the greatest slope and why it's the greatest slope and who has the greater y-intercept. If you need to at any time, rewind the video back to a part you're stuck on. Go back to your notes and go slowly over this so you can make sure you're understanding it on your own. Good luck.